Hello, this is Tommy Franks. Welcome to the 4-Star Leadership Podcast, a product of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum. We're here to get a view into the lives of the legacy makers, the movers and the shakers of today, to offer insights from the full spectrum of the leadership community. We'll talk to former 4-star students and explore their leadership development path. We'll work to find out what they are about today and learn from the opportunities they've made for themselves in this world. It's my distinct pleasure to welcome you to this podcast. Remember, leaders are not born, they're developed.
Welcome to the Core Principles of Leadership with General Tommy Franks podcast, episode 30. I'm your host, Dr. Jill Green, and this month we are talking with Katie Hewlett. Katie lives in Honeyville, Utah, and is a 23 graduate of Bear River High School. Katie was selected to attend 4-Star Leadership with General Tommy Franks in 2022, and she explains how listening to that year's keynote speaker, John Wayne Walding, left her motivated and inspired to go out and make a difference in the world. Using her skills and lessons from 4-Star, Katie hit the ground running and developed her Understanding Community Understanding Project, County and Youth Teen Development. Katie's project was recently chosen as our 23 UCU winner, and she was awarded a $5,000 cash scholarship. We also discussed with Katie her role in our inaugural year of the 4-Star Alumni Counselor Program and how seeing 4-Star from a different angle gave her even more insight in honing her leadership skills. Before we get started with Katie, let's take a moment to hear from our Core Principles of Leadership with General Tommy Franks podcast sponsors.
REI Oklahoma is proud to be a part of the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute in the production and distribution of these podcasts designed to inspire leaders and difference makers. At REI Oklahoma, we have been working with small business leaders, entrepreneurs, and people who are driven to succeed for years. Highly motivated people working to own their own businesses, live in their own homes, and make the world a better place. Since its beginning, REI Oklahoma has continued to identify hurdles and deliver holistic solutions to create job growth and help neighborhoods thrive in both rural and urban communities. REI Oklahoma looks forward to visiting with you about helping your business and community grow. Visit reiok.org or call 800-658-2823 to start the conversation.
The LaBar family is a fourth-generation Oklahoma family. That may not sound like a long time, but our grandfathers were born here, within the Comanche Nation, before the land runs. We are the proudest sponsor of the Tommy Franks 4-Star Leadership Podcast. We hope listeners will heed the words of these distinguished men and women who have served our country at the highest levels and across all walks of life.
Katie, how did you hear about 4-Star Leadership?
I heard about 4-Star Leadership through just research online. So I love the scholarship aspect and just the opportunities that are out there in the world. And I researched scholarships, and I've actually been able to get a full tuition to my college and with doing that. And so I was just researching my junior year, and I came across General Tommy Franks, and I read through what came with it, and I fell in love, and I applied thinking it was going to be a long shot, and I was able to go.
Oh, that's amazing. So once you got here and you heard about a program that we have for graduates of 4-Star, it's called Understanding Community Understanding. So when you came, that was probably something that you didn't know was an aspect of the program. So when you took that information back and you kind of thought about it, how did you determine what you wanted your Understanding Community Understanding or your UCU project to be?
When we were actually at 4-Star and they actually presented the UCU scholarship and kind of like challenge that they gave us, I I fell in love with it. I thought it was such an incredible opportunity to actually do something in your community. And at first I was like, I don't know if I can make that kind of impact in my community. And then the presenter had multiple other students speak about things that they have accomplished in their community. And I really realized that I could actually do something as impactful in mine. And so we were sitting there brainstorming ideas. I had incredible leaders around me who were coming up with outstanding projects. And I wanted something a little more obtainable. And so I came back to my community and I realized that COVID really shut down all the service aspects in our town. And I think service is so huge. That was also part of the application for General Tommy Franks is service. And I think kids growing up learning how to serve others is such an impact on their lives. And since I saw that that was an issue in our community, that they didn't have any service, I thought that I'd start a service club in my community and just make it a little better.
So when you speak about service in your community, so can you tell us a little bit about your project and what you started?
Yes. So I started Monsters for Munchkins, which is little felt monsters made for primary children's. And kids can go in and actually design their own monster for kids. And it is such a fun project. They learn how to sew. So they're learning skills as well. And then I took the kids to primary children's to drop them off, which was such a cool experience. And that was one of my projects. The other one that I did was Minkies for Minis. And they're little Mickey monsters that you sew eyeballs on and then you tie the sides. So they're super soft and they're for babies to hold and grip. And that was also donated to primary children's. I then also reached out to the nursing home. And this was something that I didn't really realize went on because of COVID. The nursing home people weren't getting gifts and donations anymore because COVID kind of shut it down. And so people kind of forgot about it. And so I reached out to them and asked them what they needed for them. And it was around Valentine's Day. And they said they would love cards from anyone. And so I got a bunch of kids together who wrote Valentine's Day cards to all the elderly in the nursing home. And we were also able to drop those off. And it was so impactful for me just to see those kids interact that way, because you don't really get to see that. And I knew for a fact that a lot of them, it was their first time doing something like that. After seeing that, they reached out to me and asked if I could do socks, non-slip socks. And that's where you take just any generic sock and you put puff paint on the bottom of them. So when they walk around, they don't slip. And so we did impactful messages on the bottom of them, cute designs, and every student had such a fun time making these. And I absolutely love the project and I didn't want it to end. And so after just doing all these little classes and advertising, I decided to take it to my high school and actually start a little program there. And so we have a thing called Claw Time, where it's a 30-minute period for kids to just have a break. Well, a lot of times kids don't have anything to do, so they get to go wherever they want. And I started this service club and I had dozens of kids come in and they could actually do these different projects depending on what they wanted to do. And it was so good. It was actually able to complete many, many more of those gifts for them. And so that was way, way cool for me.
So when you started and you had the kids, and you talk about primary children, is that a hospital in your area?
Yes, it is.
Is that the Children's Hospital? Okay. So how many children did you have, making these Minky monsters?
I had, for Minkies and Monsters, I had about over 200 kids that were able to make them. And some of them were able to turn out. So I had about 200-ish monsters completed for those. And that was over a span of multiple classes and multiple sessions in our Claw Time period. So
awesome. And so it sounds like it was kind of, a snowball effect with you just had a few students and a few more would come and a few more would come. And so when you had the claw time, how many students actually joined in on that club in your high school?
So at first there was only about 10, and then I was able to bring it up to about 30, but I would have about 10 to 15 show up every week, but they kind of rotated through. It just depended on what their classes were and if they had to complete schoolwork. So I had about 30 enrolled.
So that's amazing. So that's really kind of what that project is for. I mean, we as citizens and individuals, we don't have to think big to make an impact. It's, these smaller things. And then, someone in your community might find, inspiration from what you've done. And then they go and serve. And then, it becomes a snowball and just makes our world a better place. And that's really what that project is for. So, we know that you won your $5,000 scholarship for this, and you're going to use that in college. So how do you plan to sustain this project that you've started?
Right. So actually, I had a bunch of underclassmen who started in my program. And before I graduated, I reached out to about 5 of them, and I was like, would you be willing to keep this project going? And they were so excited. So I actually have kids in the high school who are going to continue it for years on. And my mom is a high school teacher, so the kids are able to use her classroom. So that's never an issue. And I'm going to help them apply for the grant this coming year for the school year so they can continue those projects. Now, as going to college, I am a business ambassador for the Huntsman School of Business up at Utah State University. And I have already talked to my lead and asked if this was something they were interested in starting, just kind of a service project to bring more kids in. So I'm a recruiter. That's my job.
Oh, wow.
To recruit students. And so my idea was to do service projects for the college students to come in and actually serve for the college and donate to different college organizations. And so I've already been on my way to start doing that.
Well, that's amazing. So when you came to 4-Star last year and you learned the things about our core principles, how do you think that what you learned that week kind of helps you in, figuring out this UCU project?
Honestly, just learning to be a leader. And I know that's so generic, but going there and seeing these people do such huge things, I realized that I'm not just a high school student in my school. I realized that I can stand out and actually do greater things. And so, 4-Star has dedicated days for the principals. And I never really looked at those different principles so clearly as they were like dictated in the 4-Star program, and learning so much about communication and communicating with your peers and older people, and how I could actually start my UCU project and actually apply those communication skills. Because I was talking to adults, I was talking to younger students. And so I figured out that there were multiple opportunities for that. And so the 4-Star program really, really helped spark that in me.
So, well, in general, is that you were already a leader when you came to 4-Star. So how do you think the 4-Star helped elevate you as a leader?
Right. So I was a leader. I was kind of a smaller leader. I didn't really realize that I could be such a big leader in my community. And I think just meeting those people at 4-Star was so inspiring. I remember coming back and just jotting down notes and ideas these kids had around me that were just my peers. They were all my own age, and they were all leaders themselves. And I realized that I could really step it up as a leader, and they were just so inspiring.
Well, I see what you mean, because they're inspiring to me. So, some of these, when I look back and think about myself when I was 16 and 17 years old, they're all just inspiring to me. So, you recently came back to Four Star as one of our counselors, and that's a new program that we have now is mentoring, using past graduates as mentors and counselors for our Four Star students. Can you give us any insight on using your core leadership skills and a better understanding of using them as you came back and, were able to mentor those students?
Right. That was an incredible opportunity. I mean, being able to come back and actually meet more leaders than I was my first time was incredible. And I mean, I think communication pulls into everything. I had to go there and communicate with all these kids and actually connect with them. And I think that was something I was really nervous about. And I actually pulled out my old Four Star notebook with all of our notes. And I was looking through it to see ideas that I could give them or more insights I could. And I think that actually really helped going there. I remembered my Four Star experience and how, we had these counselors who we all looked up to. And I was like, I want to be that person. I want the kids to look up to the counselors. And so I wanted to make sure that I reached out to every single student and communicated with them and learned their stories. And it was incredible. Those kids, they have a light in them that they are just going to be an incredible leader. And there was multiple times where they'd be like, Katie, let's go on a walk around the campus and talk. And I was like, okay. And so I'd go out there and they'd tell me their stories and tell me why they're there. And it was so inspiring. And I was able to connect with them and just showing them that I was a leader in my way. So they'd ask my story and me being able to share that with them too. It was just an incredible experience.
Yes. And that's really, why I wanted to bring our alumni back as counselors. I think there's a great connection there that we can build and grow and, really start, leaning on our alumni and keeping them more engaged in our program. So that's really exciting to me that you got to be one of our first counselors. So, and you did an amazing job. I'm very thankful for you. So, before you came to Four Star, so what did a leader look like to you?
Before Four Star, a leader looked like to me an older adult. I was a 4-H state ambassador, and so I was a leader in that sense, but we always had someone higher than us leading us through what we were leading. And so in my mind, I was like, oh, I need to grow up to be a leader. And I didn't realize until Four Star that you could be a leader right now. And it didn't necessarily matter your age or your ranking. It was just how you acted and treated others and more of the impact that you made on your community. And after Four Star, I realized those things. And I realized that I can be a leader wherever I am, in the workplace, in my home, just with friends in general, just being that example. And I didn't really realize that until after Four Star.
Short break while we pause to hear from one of our generous sponsors.
Hello, this is Jay Zacharias with the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum, and I would like to tell you about one of our partner sponsors. His name is Justin Krieger, and he has worked as an independent insurance agent at Krieger Insurance Agency in his hometown of Hobart, Oklahoma since 1999. Justin is honored to help with the annual Celebration of Freedom event and has been a board member for the General Tommy Franks Leadership Institute and Museum for many years. He is also a fifth-generation farmer and rancher in Kiowa County, where cattle, crops, and even insurance is sold with a handshake. Give him a call at 580-726-3076 or come by the office if you would like to speak with Justin Krieger or Kathy Lankford about insurance. We are thankful to our customers and friends who have supported us through the years. Again, Justin would like to say how honored he is to live in such a great country and how proud he is to help sponsor these podcasts. Please enjoy the rest of this podcast experience from your friends at Krieger Insurance Agency.
So now that you've been through 4-star and you've seen all these, wonderful leaders, young and, old, what do you consider a good leader now?
Honestly, just kind of what I said before. I think a good leader is just someone who can inspire. It doesn't matter how big of an impact you've made necessarily. It's just the way you present yourself too. I think it's how you present yourself to everyone constantly. I constantly think I am in a fishbowl and there's always someone looking at me. And I think through looking like that or seeing it that way, I am constantly trying to better myself. And I think a leader is always trying to better themselves in what they're doing and how they're affecting people. And I genuinely think that really made a change in my life was when I went to 4-star.
Yeah. So, well, and it's true because, it doesn't matter how young of a leader you are. There's always somebody that is looking up to you and wants to be like you when you grow up. So that's an important aspect of as a leader is, how they're guiding themselves and acting when they don't think anyone is looking. So do you think 4-star gave you any more confidence than you had before you came here to Oklahoma City and stayed with us?
Yes. Confidence was huge for me. I was actually super, super shy. I love to go out and serve and do different things, but I was never like going out of my way to talk. And I mean, through 4-star, they had multiple speaking opportunities with the speech competitions. And I mean, you are forced to stand up there and talk to your peers. And these speeches, you're bringing in your own personal insights. And I think that just really, it gave me a lot of confidence in the things that I was doing, because then kids would come up after me and be afterwards and be like, wow, Katie, that's such a cool experience. Like, that's so cool. And then I could learn from theirs as well. I also think 4-star it doesn't have the high school feel, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So you're going there and all these kids just want to know about you and what you're doing. And you just want to know about them, and sharing your experiences and having them share theirs back. It just shows you that you can be confident in the things that you're doing, and you don't necessarily have to be shy about it or feel like you're being cocky in any way. You're sharing and teaching others. And after 4-star, I was able to do multiple different things. I actually went to nationals in multiple different speech competitions. And that I honestly don't think would have happened unless I did do those speech competitions there at 4-star. So it gave me a lot of opportunities with confidence.
So, I mean, in this year, of course, I'm a new director, so this was my first year, but I saw some of those students come in on Sunday night and they were so nervous. I mean, they were shaking, they were scared, they didn't know what to expect. And by the time Thursday got there, they were right in the middle of everything. They were excited. Their posts on Instagram are, just, I can't believe the week I've had. It's been amazing. And just to see that growth in those students, is what was so spectacular. And then listening to their speeches, some of the things that, I mean, we all kind of live in our own little bubbles and we don't think about, the outside world too terribly much. But when you can hear speeches from some of those students and, the tragedies and the lives and stuff that they've led to get to here, I mean, it's just amazing. And the inspiration behind them, I mean, it was truly amazing. So if you could give some advice to someone that was thinking about applying to 4-star, what would it be?
My advice would be to go for it. 100%. It is genuinely a life-changing experience, and it will teach you so many valuable lessons in life in general. Yes, it's a leadership camp, but I think every person needs to know these qualities going through the workplace, through families and relationships. It's so impactful in every aspect of your life that you need. And not only that, you will build relationships for the rest of your life. And knowing people from other states and other countries is such a networking device that you can use in your future. And so my advice would be to 100% do it.
So when you were here last year as a student, who was the speaker that really you connected with the most and really kind of had the most impact on you?
You know, that's a super hard question because the speakers were so incredible. Now, after going there, I read a lot of bios of the speakers before I went. And when I actually got there, I think the most impactful speaker was the last guy at the dinner. And I don't quite remember his name. It was a little while ago, but he talked about his story of being a soldier and how he saved his friends' lives. And he talked about losing his leg and then going through life with tragedy and feeling like he wasn't enough, and then growing and learning that he is, and actually being there for his family again and showing his leadership skills in the workforce. And then he actually went on and ran like a marathon with tons of stuff on his back, and he had a missing leg, and he showed that you could do anything. And I have thought about that speech to this day. It was so impactful.
Yeah, so that was John Wayne Walding. That was his name. And yeah, he is a very powerful speaker. And he's just one of those individuals that wanted to join the military and, had to go to war, and tragedy struck. And he, like a lot of veterans, he struggled with, his injuries and the effects of war, but he overcame. So he is an amazing, amazing individual. So if I know you were busy being a counselor this year, but with the speakers that we had, was there anyone that really kind of stood out to you this year?
This year, I love General Tommy Frank's speech there at the Capitol. I loved what he said, but I saw those kids truly look at him and be like, wow. Like you could see it across the whole room. Like all of them were thinking that. And I think the way he walks around and makes personal eye contact with every student there, I think it was just so eye-opening to me to see that at a different level as a counselor instead of as a participant, and watching their reactions to hearing his stories and hearing how things were impactful for him. And is such a humble man. And he just talks about how proud he is of these kids and how inspired he is. And you just see these kids who are like, this guy is incredible. And he's complimenting us. And I actually heard that from multiple students afterwards, and just seeing their reaction was incredible. So cool.
It is. I've looked at some of the pictures from that Capitol, and just the look in their eyes when they're looking up to, when he's walking, because he walks around. He doesn't stand at a podium. He hates standing at a podium. So he walks around and talks to them, and he makes it's that much more personal. But the pictures of them, and they're just looking at, it's just like they're in awe of him. And when he came to, that this is the first time I've really heard him speak as well. But when he came and spoke on Thursday to the students, and he closed it off by saying, what are you going to do about it? That was so powerful to me too. It was almost like I told my husband, it was like a call. You've got to get up and do something, and it's just a simple little statement, but he makes it so impactful. And I think that's why he's so great at what he does.
Okay.
So what advice do you have to someone that's just finished up 4-star, and how do you, what would you say to them to keep the momentum of what they've learned and continue to grow as a leader?
I would tell them to keep their notebook 100%. It was a competition, so they did take diligent notes during those speakers. And I can't tell you how many times I've done a workshop or I've had to give a speech, and I was able to refer back to those experiences that I had. And everything is written down for them. And so I mean, all of our memories are different, but I know for a fact my memory is not great. And so just having that notebook to constantly look back and remind myself of those experiences that I had and those leadership qualities I want to be following, it was so incredible. Another thing I would tell them is 100% go for the UCU project. I think not only is that an experience for yourself, but it is an experience for the people you impact. And so the more people that you bring in, the more lives you're going to change. And honestly, that was such an incredible experience for me. So definitely do that.
Yeah. So, and you're not out there, trying to cure world hunger or cancer or anything. It's just little things that you're doing that are making a huge impact on that next person. And then that next person is going out and doing the same. And that's really what, we want our leaders to do is, make one impact causes another. So, I think that that's great. So I'm so proud of you for completing your UCU project, and your video was wonderful. And we'll attach it to it's already out there on social media, but we'll attach it to this podcast so everybody can see how great you did and what an impact you had on your community. So, but before we close up for the day, can you kind of tell us about your plans now that you've graduated high school, what you're going to go on to do?
Right. So I mentioned that I'm a business ambassador. So I'm going to the Huntsman School of Business up at Utah State University, and I'm planning to study business management HR with a minor in communications. And right now, I'm planning on possibly getting my cosmetology degree. I'm halfway through that just so I can do that while I'm going to college.
Wow.
And so just so I have something under my belt while getting my actual degree. And then afterwards, I would love to work with HR and work with building up other companies and working with their communication and just making things better. I love talking to people. And so that's what I want to do for the rest of my life.
So that's a tough career to tackle. I know that when we heard Colonel Hayes speak when we were in Midland, he said that the hardest thing about management or leadership is managing people. And so that's exactly what HR is. So that's a big goal to tackle, but we know that you can do it. We've seen you for 2 years now, and you're successful at whatever you put your mind to. And I think that that's what makes you such a great person is you just have the determination and perseverance to just push on. And we are so proud of you. And we are going to continue to watch you grow and be a leader and be an ambassador for the 4-star program. And, but please keep in touch with us, and just know that if you need anything, we're here. And that's how we consider anybody that's gone through 4-star as our family. So you are part of a great big family. So we appreciate you being with us today. And I guess that's going to conclude it. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to stop recording and then we'll go. But that's really it for tonight. So we'll let you know. But it should be live next Friday.
Okay.
And we'll
awesome.
Yeah. So we'll send you a little link so your mama can hear you.
Awesome. That'd be great.
All right. Well, you have a great evening.
I do have one more question for you.
Yes.
So I move out in like a few weeks.
So
I would love to do those books if that's what you're thinking of wanting to do before I actually kind of cut that business down quite a bit. And I talked to Bess, but she said she was going to talk to you about it. Do you know?
Can we get 3 of them?
3? Yeah,
yes.
Of course.
Yeah, that's what we'll do. Yes, we'll get 3 of them.
I will get started on those right away.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and they're wonderful.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. You're the best.
Take care. All right.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you again to REI Oklahoma for making this podcast possible. For nearly 40 years, the board, staff, patrons, and supporters of the nonprofit economic development REI Oklahoma, are committed to expanding Oklahoma's economic prosperity, earning the reputation of being one of the most comprehensive economic development organizations in the country. Business loans, training workshops, business consulting, and networking opportunities, as well as technical assistance and even commercial business space, are made available to Oklahoma entrepreneurs and small businesses. For low and moderate income individuals and families, down payment and or closing cost assistance is offered. Learn more at reiok.org. This has been the 4-Star Leadership Podcast. Now it's your turn, 4-Star listeners. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and let us know what you thought of this episode. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcast and tune in next month for our next episode that airs every last Friday each month. Go be great.
The LaBarre family is a 4th-generation Oklahoma family. That may not sound like a long time, but our grandfathers were born here, within the Comanche Nation, before the land runs. We are the proudest sponsor of the Tommy Franks 4-Star Leadership Podcast. We hope listeners will heed the words of these distinguished men and women who have served our country at the highest levels and across all walks of life.